Okay. Chof MarCheshvan, the Rebbe says in Aleph. Bekesher mit Chof MarCheshvan. In connection with the 20th of MarCheshvan, the Yom HaYiladas from Kvei Kedushas Admar Marashab Nishmas Eden. Of course, this is the birthday of the Rebbe Rashab. Hat Kvei Kedushas Mari V'Chodmar Admar Detzel Asipur from Baal Yom HaYiladas. So the Frierdiker Rebbe said a story about his father, the Rebbe Rashab. Was hat passiert when is given a kind von 4 Jahr, 5 Jahr. It happened either when he was 4 or 5 years old. B'Shabbos Parshas Vayera, on Shabbos Parshas Vayera. The Rebbe Nishmas Eden is rein zu sein Zeden. Kveit Admar hat sein Masedet zu Mekabel sein die Brachas B'Shachas mit sein Yom HaYiladas und hat sie sich voneinander gewinnt. Zogendik. So everybody knows this. It's brought in Hayom Yom that the Rebbe Rashab came into the Tzemach Tzedek, his Zayda, in order to get a bracha for his birthday, and he cried, saying, "Farvas hat sich der Eibishter bewiesen zu Avram Avinu und zu uns ihm beweist sich nicht." So he asked, why is it that Avram Avinu was zeicha that Hashem appeared to him, and why doesn't Hashem come to us? That's what he asked his grandfather. Hat ihm der Tzemach Tzedek geantwortet. So what did the Tzemach Tzedek respond? Ayid, a tzaddik. He said Ayid, and a righteous man. So 99 years, when he's 99 years old, is machlit as darf sich mol sein. He decides that he needs to give himself a bris. Is wert as the Eibishter soll sich beweisen zu him, so he deserves that Hashem should appear to him. That's the story which happened, that the Frierdiker Rebbe told over, that happened with the Rebbe Rashab and the Tzemach Tzedek, and now the Rebbe is going to dissect and take apart this story. Beis, Moshein gered kam pa'amim wegen der Yerois and Avedas Hashem, was man kann erreichen nehmen von dem Dazuk Siper. We spoke about many times the different lessons that we could take out from this specific story. And like every story that we hear about the Rabbeim, especially the stories that the Rabbeim themselves said, was anhalten heiros l'chol echad ve'echad, which we have a hero that we could take out from this. Wird man sich abstellen jetzt auf noch eine Kud in dem Sipper. So the Rebbe says we'll focus on another part of the story. Kvei Kedushas Mari V'Chomer Admar hat medayik given beim Erzählen dem Sipper as the Baal Yom HaYiladas is dann given a kind von 4 oder 5 Jahr. The Frierdiker Rebbe, when he said the story, he said this is a child who was 4 or 5 years old. We bad as the Dibber von Anasi Yisrael. Befrat was redt berabem when haste noch abdrucken, especially whenever a tzaddik Nasi Yisrael says something, especially something which is printed, is sicher ausgerechnet und medayik metuyik betachel. So it's obviously very, very metuyik. We have to say, as der Prat von dem Sipper is nicht nur zu herausbringen die Gadlus von Rebbe Nishmas Eden. This Prat to say that he's either 4 or 5 is not only to bring out the greatness of the Rebbe Rashab, as a filu gorbe katnuse hat ihm geart verwas der Eibishter beweist sich nicht zu ihm, that not that he was 4 or 5 years old then, and he was upset that Hashem didn't come to him, und das hat ihm also viel der Numen, bis hat sich voneinander gewinnt, and this penetrated him so much, till so much that he cried, nor. So it's not like just saying this is the greatness. When the Rebbe said a story, or the Rebbeim said a story about another Rebbe, it's not just to show the greatness of the Rebbeim. Look how great he is. No, this is a ira in our day-to-day life. When their phone is verstandig, as afal pi was their sipar and halt kam iros the. So this is understood that even though this story has many lessons for us, is aber ikar ira oich fardi was in dem gil von dalet oi beis ben hey. This is a lesson for children that are 4 or 5. Or nit nur zu agodos bishanim was is b'matzav aruchni v'akotem ben dalet oy ben hey. Not only somebody who is in his spiritual state, not that he acts like a 4 or 5 year old, but his education and godliness and Yiddishkeit is like 4 or 5. In other words, he didn't come to the ultimate level of chinuch. This means he has no knowledge. As nit nor was misat asme versteht nit, nor can euch nit aufnehmen ashpa von a zweiten. He doesn't understand and he can't take ashpa from somebody else. As can mannen, even him we can demand, und mit a innerliche Teiche, dugmas in abechia, we can demand in a way of crying, was weiß as die Sach rührt ihm on, mit a Teike of Hecher von seiner Medida Vagbala. The fact that somebody cries it penetrates him so deeply that it's beyond his limitations. As the Eibishter soll sich zu ihm beweisen, that Hashem should show himself to him bis till Vayera hat sich bewiesen to Avram Avinu the same way he showed to Avram Avinu. The reason is, Avram Avinu is from the Gimel Obis, since Avram Avinu is one of the forefathers of Klal Yisrael, is by Yad and by Yad and Meinu from the Banim, da B'Yerusha din Yonim was given by the Obis. So every person is given B'Yerusha what the Obis had. Nor Be'ikar to Akotan ben Gimel ben Hey Kipshutei. So what the Rebbe is getting at is that it's not only to somebody who's in a spiritual sense of a 4 or 5 year old, but also somebody who's Kipshutei 4 or 5. You could also educate him as erzol mana betekev, that you should demand him in a strong way as ad kidei b'chi, until he cries, as the Eibishter soll sich zu ihm beweisen wie zu Avram Avinu, that Hashem could appear to a 4 or 5 year old just like he appeared to Avram Avinu. In other words, you can give the child such an education that he can get to that level that he can demand from Hashem. He also wants to see Hashem. Gimel, chelik and you can ask, was farad dimyin und vergleich is dort zwischen dem Rebbe Nishmasi Eden and jeder Yiddish kind. You can ask realistically. Let's be honest. This is the Frierdiker Rebbe as a child. The Rebbe is born a Rebbe. How could you start equating the child and the Rebbe Rashab? The Rebbe Nishmasi Eden zandik HaKadosh mibeten Nasi ben Nasi is Shem bekat Nusse given in ihm nikar me'ein von sein spätliche Gadus. K'mayim razal butzim mekat v'yidiyah. So he says, let's be, the Rebbe is saying practically. The Rebbe is saying like this: practically, a Rebbe is born a Rebbe, and you can already know on a Rebbe, as the Gemara says, it says butzim mekat v'yidiyah, which means by a plant, you could already see by a plant how the plant is going to grow. So the Rebbe Rashab was the Rebbe Rashab. He was born a Kaddish. How could you demand that on a regular child? A move on as Shein Dan is given. And you could tell on the child, first of all, that Rebbe Rashab was Nasi ben Nasi. He was born a Kaddish, so you could tell, even when he was a child, you could tell his greatness. Heinz, wie kämen von ihm ablernen, wenn geht dem Chinuch von jedem jüdischen Kind, der Shir HaChinuch ist doch bechol tinik lefi charifos v'diyasi. How could you demand that every 4 or 5 year old child, you could educate him in a way that he can have this type of hakar, this type of recognition that he should cry for Hashem? As we know, the halacha is, Shulchan Aruch says that the shir of chinuch is based on the child's sharpness, his knowledge, etc. Now, v'alfa pi asis baruch kanal, as the teich nasipur shayich nit nor zu anasi b'yisol nor oich zu kol echad ve'echad. Now, even though this story is not only telling us that it's shayich to anasi, but it's shayich to everybody, warum we get frier for them gufa of us. But in Sibir der zelt berabim und danach abgedruckt ist a raya as das ist nicht von die Inyani Anasi was im Shichmei Malak Gavei Mikol Am. Again, some Rebbes they tell stories to say how great they are, or other Chassidim say the stories of their Rebbe to say how great you are and how low you are. When a Nasi says a story about himself or about other Nasim, a Rebbe is saying about another Rebbe, is because we have a lesson that we could take in our day-to-day life. Nor von seinen Yonim zu welcher jeder mikol Amen hat Sheiches. Now, is aber genug zu sagen the Chayra as das is a Yira for Gedelim B'Shanim. So the Chayra, this is a Yira just for people who are older. Because I feel to divas beruchnius and Yonim lo yigil shtem sachirich kanal. Okay, or say let's say somebody who's an adult, but beruchnius he's still a child. Was darfen sagen as das is Shaykh euch zu akotn kipshutim B'Shanim? How could you say, or why would you say that this is Shaykh also to a child who's 4 or 5 years old? Kipshute, how's it Shaykh? Okay, we'll finish this in Mitzvah tomorrow.